we can see here that we have a problem. We have a problem. We have two problems, right? There's a triangle that's been given. It's a 90-degree angle, so it's a right triangle. It's not one of those wrong triangles, right? It's a right triangle. They gave us a 20-degree angle. They gave us one side. So again, they gave us two things, and we have to work out the third thing. So for the first problem, determine what is BC, the length of BC. That's a side length we have to work out. And for the second problem, there's another side length we can work out. Now, obviously, if we have, if I have this length and this length, I can work this out with Pythagoras, but we're just going to go the trigonometry route for both these, well, for the second part. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is I have to name my triangle. So you don't have to call it Jack or Bob or Peter or Cindy or whatever. We have to name the sides. So if this is the reference angle they gave me, then I can make a little O here for myself because that is the opposite side. And then I can also name this one, which is the longest side, which would be the hypotenuse side. I'm sure I can make a better H than that. Okay, hypotenuse side. And the one touching would be the adjacent side. So I wrote my SOHCAHTOA here. I use the triangles because it's easier for me, because then I can kind of see what variation of the equation I should use. For this equation, it's still easy because if they gave us the angle to work out the sides, it's very straightforward. In the next video, we'll look at if they gave us sides and we have to work out the angle, because then there's a little trick we have to do on the calculator. But let's just start with BC. So BC is our opposite side. So I know I have my hypotenuse, I know I have an angle, and I want my opposite side. So let's just start from the top. In this case, I see the sign of the opposite. So opposite I don't have, but I'm looking for that. And hypotenuse I do have. So this will work for me because I have the angle length and I have the hypotenuse side. I just need the opposite side. So I'll write it out. Again, you don't have to write this one out. It's usually the method mark is when you plug it into the let's say into the equation. So the sine of an angle is going to be the opposite side divided by the hypotenuse side. So you don't get marks for that, but I'm just writing it down for an example to show what we're doing. So I have the angle, so I know the sine of 20 degrees is going to be the opposite side. I don't have, I wrote this down and I actually didn't use my calculator. I didn't really even think about it. Okay, let's just backtrack. This is true, but if I write this in, then I'm gonna have the unknown value here and I'm gonna have to rearrange. And I actually wrote those triangles not to rearrange. So let's just backtrack a bit. Because I want the opposite side, I'm gonna write opposite first on this side. Equals, because that's my subject. That's the unknown value. So if I wrote the opposite, I know the opposite is the sine of the angle times the length. So traditionally we'll write this number first, which is that length, which is 15 sine 20 degrees, which just means 15 times sine 20, and it's a lot quicker. The other way I would have rearranged, I had to multiply and divide, and this is now done for me. So I would just say 15, press the sine button, and 20 degrees, and that would be 5.1303. So to three significant figures, I would always suggest writing this whole number down. For an IG exam, that's always a good part. And then they can, if they want to the nearest centimeter or something, you can do the calculation. We usually do usually the instruction says three significant figures, so that 0 is obviously not going to influence this one, so 5.13, whatever the units are, and that would be three significant figures. So this would be good enough. Just to show you that I'm not lying, if I did 15 times the sine of 20, it's also the same thing. Okay, so I don't have to write the little sign or multiply a value in there. Okay, so now we got the opposite side. So this one we have. For the next one, let's say they didn't ask us for the BC and we don't have BC, we didn't work it out. they actually want AC. So let's look at what we need there. So the sign would not work because the sign has the opposite and we're looking for the adjacent. And in this case, let's just see, the cosine would be when we have an A value. Okay, we're looking for the A, so that might work, and we have the hypotenuse. So this is what we're going to use. We're going to use cosine. And now I just have to rearrange the formula so that I don't make the mistake I did earlier. I want the adjacent side first. So adjacent, I want that as the subject, or I could have done AC. The adjacent side would be the cosine of the angle times the hypotenuse. So that's kind of the rearrangement that I would do. So if I wanted to plug this in, I can say AC, because that's that length, is equal to the hypotenuse, which is 15 times the cosine of 20 degrees. Okay, let me plug that in. 15 cosine 20, and we get a number like, I like to write this whole thing down. So I can kind of tell whoever's examining my exam, hey, I know these things are important. So just writing them down so that I know they're important. And to 3 significant figures, this 9 will make that a 14.1. And we'll just say whatever the units are, and that would be 3 significant figures. Okay, so that's very straightforward for this example. Let's in the next video we'll do a different example.